fall short. But if they compete and they stay through the entire season with the team, whether they place third or they fall short of their goal, it's really important for the coach. I mean, I see it all the time. I see you guys doing it all the time, where you acknowledge their effort and you acknowledge the year that they've been through, and that's, in a sense, that's the accomplishment of getting to that point and giving it 100%. So I really like that part of the movie where he made sure that each and every one of those kids felt that there was a value to it, even though they fell short. I thought that was a great coaching quality that he had.
I think with wrestling, Tanya probably attest to this, Zeras can kind of attest to this. With wrestling, and maybe I'm just being biased, but I think the coaching conversation and the coaching dialogue that coach has with the student athlete is a lot different than, say, whether it be football or soccer or field hockey or whatever. The fact that we are so up in their face, can put our hands on them, throw them down, roll with them, spar with them, and kind of live the battle with them, and grind with them, and do the sprints with them, and all that stuff. Versus, you can't, in football, you can't really, if you're coaching football, you can't go and tackle the kids. You're not allowed to do that. But in wrestling, you do all of that, and I think that it brings the coaches and the athletes really, really close compared to some other sports. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the sports. I know it does, but I think that it happens a little bit more in wrestling. And I was and we're saying he's a young coach. He did a phenomenal job for how young he was, and I was actually really impressed with this guy's on camera, right? So. And he was pretty, true to himself, despite the fact that there's a camera stuck in his face. Why didn't you make the effing weight? You got 10 effing pounds to lose. Like, didn't care. Maybe he checked himself a little bit, but I was watching it from a coaching aspect. I'm like, what would I say if there's a camera stuck in my face? Generally, I am who I am, and I don't really. Cover too much up, so I would say something very similar. But I was like, that, I had respect for the coach at that point, for knowing that there's a camera stuck in his face, and the way he acted throughout the whole movie, and was just, he was real. He was real to the kids, and he was real to himself and parents and everything else. So, I thought he did a great job, just to follow with the coaching comment.
This movie didn't deal with it, but once in a while I read in the news where teams will not wrestle with a female on the other team. I was wondering if you could bring us up to date. What's going on with that?
We don't. I have 2 girls on my team, and they're both really good. It got to the point now where they're so good that no one really bats an eye anymore if they lose to one of the 2 girls. They're not really girls at that point, at the level they're at. They're just another wrestler. I think that happens. There's a situation in Texas right now where there's a transgender wrestler that's allowed to wrestle women, but it's not. They can't wrestle in the men's division. So I think that might be what you're referring to. I don't really have too many problems like that in this area. You hear comments of, some people are uncomfortable with it. And I think the people that are really uncomfortable with it have never wrestled. Just because when you're in competing, it doesn't matter, what color you are, it doesn't matter what sexuality you are, it is everything, you're competing. A guy, a girl, a gay guy, a gay girl, it doesn't matter. You're an athlete and you're competing. It's no different than a tennis match. That's my point of view. And people are uncomfortable some people are uncomfortable with wrestling because they haven't done it, or they haven't been around it, and they're, the thing that, so they put up a wall, wrestling's gay, because they're uncomfortable with it, so that they put up a wall right away. So, and I think that's where that stems from.
I want to add to that. I'm a referee. I have been for this will be my 15th year, and I've seen the stories you're talking about. I saw one a couple years ago in Iowa, I think it was. I've never seen that. I've reffed every team in New Hampshire at least 2 or 3 times, probably a lot of cases, a lot more. I've never seen a boy forfeit to a girl in the state of New Hampshire ever. Those situations, the reason they make the news is because they're 1 out of 100. And like I said, you know, virtually every team in the state has one or two girls, it seems. Maybe not every, over half do. You know, I've reffed the girls on Brock's teams, I've reffed Nick's team, and yeah, that does not happen in New Hampshire. I've also reffed in Mass, it does not happen in Mass. Like I said, those situations are, yeah, they're 1 in 100, and that's why they make the news. They might be 1 in 1,000. So yeah, it's nothing to be concerned about.
Anybody else? Would you?
I just have to say, if that coach, yes, you're pointing out that he's so young and that he could use a lot more experience and would change some of his ways of dealing with the guys, but if he is at all a representation of coaches in general, I think they are absolutely incredibly fantastic. The way he kept with those guys, the encouragement he gave them, he went to their homes, he did everything possible in the world to stick with those guys, to get them through these periods in their lives. And I just think, again, if he is at all a decent representation of everybody else, you guys are incredible.
I agree. I think he was amazing, and I think there are more amazing people like that in our schools than anybody ever acknowledges. And I've been biting my tongue on this, but sadly, because I didn't want to say the negative, but sadly, he's another example of yet another amazing young educator who left the field in the first 5 years.
Yeah, that's what's sad.
That's what's sad.
Can you remind them to fill out a survey as they go out?
Sure. Thanks for joining us and sticking around for the conversation. And on your way out the door, since it is Mental Health Awareness Month, there's a table to the right as you walk out. There's lots of great information and stuff there. Feel free to grab. There's lots of copies of things. And there are also surveys for you, please, to fill out and leave in the basket there for the event. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks. It was nice to meet you guys. Thanks. Yeah, last year we had them. Yeah.
I have a I teach at the elementary, and he'd be like out of the building, hiding behind the dumpsters. And sometimes the first thing we get was me, because I was a teacher, and he walked my class.
I know, man.
And stuff, and then it's just